Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to take a look at the upcoming Uma that is Satono Diamond. And like all my coverage of all Umas and whether or not you might want to pull over them, we'll take a look at the stat bonuses, the aptitudes, the skills, as well as all the Umas that'll be coming out alongside her or not too long after her to kind of help determine whether she's someone you might want to pull, depending on how much currency you have saved up or will continue to be able to save up. And so with that right off the bat, first we'll take a look at the stat bonuses. Now, she has 15% in stamina and 15% in wit. When we get kind of into what she's kind of built for, she's built for longs. And so it's always nice to have stamina for the longs. It makes it a lot more cozy in trying to actually hit the stat marks. And we're actually coming up to a long here and make a new track with the Pisces Cup on Hanshin 3200. So that's really nice. And then one of the stats a lot of us struggle with right now, as you probably can tell, is wit, especially on the longs. Just for the simple fact you're trying to get like everything else pretty high right now in Track Blazer. But one of the negatives is that, I mean, we're not going to do another long in Track Blazer, so we'll have to kind of look at this also for future value in other scenarios. But still, not too bad. Although my preference is power, like a stamina and power bonus, kind of like we have like Gold Ship and Tamamo Cross. Just for the simple fact, it makes it much easier to get these high up while using wit and speed cards. But that's pretty much it there. When it comes to her aptitude, she's A in turf, D dirt, so she's strictly for turf, and then A long, A medium, and A light. So she has 4 A's, and with only one of them being a strategy, pretty good in terms of being able to try and get that distance aptitude. But as you already know right off the bat, with Track Blazer, one of the negatives, especially if you want to try and build her quickly for Pisces Cup, which is coming up here in I believe a weekish or a week and a half-ish. We'll be starting that. She is Mile C, so you're going to want to give her some Mile Sparks to take her up to Mile B or even A to make the career a lot better for getting a lot higher stats because you can do all those Mile G1s and G2s. So that's kind of an annoyance, but that won't be much of a problem after Track Blazer. Just something to note for now. Now, when it comes to her uniques, not too bad. It's got some, it does have some value when it comes to being an inherit. Not as strong as some others, but it is not the worst in the world. We have, if well positioned at the start of the final straight, her strong willpower to win will increase velocity. If positioned near the front, greatly increase velocity instead. And that keyword greatly automatically tells you it's going to probably be pretty good on the bonus to the speed. And then it's more or less the conditions that'll dictate whether it's good or not. And yeah, so well positioned, and so you're basically on the last straight, and you're within what 2nd to 5th place. You will get increase of 0.35, and then you also kind of have what's the other one here? Yeah, different, and then kind of the distance to the distance in diff top, which we can actually just look at it to kind of explain it a little bit here. Is the distance in meters between first place and you, so how close you are to first place. And so, like if it says 7, it's 7 meters difference. And so here, 5 or greater. So this is basically a win condition alt. Basically, you're in position to win, and then you're going to just blast off basically your own triumphant pulse once you're in that position, and you just take off. Now, if you're not in that position, you get a 0.35. Still very, very strong, though. And so you can see when it gets inherited with that, you have a 0.25 and 0.15. So fairly good inherit, and it does last 3 seconds on the inherit. But it's conditionally, I don't really like it as much. I mean, you already know Triumphant Pulse is very strong in that same respect, but it's just basically, as long as you're not in first place and you're fairly close to the front, that one's going to activate versus this one. Now, innate skills, we got right-handed. So I believe every single one of the long races is right-handed, which is pretty much what she's completely built for, as we'll see. So good right there. But then she has medium straightaways, so she can do mediums. But when you get into her awakening skills, she starts right off the bat with feature act, pretty good for longs. You have a built-in heal for late surgers, which has been a little bit more of a tricky one to get for some. So she has her heal on the longs. Firm condition, so when the track is firm, that's good. And then she has the gold version of right-handed. Now, one of the things you've probably already seen, if you take like the NTR card, she has a gold version of firm conditions. It's going to be similar here, except for right-handed. And if you get it all the way up to gold, power and speed will both be 60. So effectively, after 2 hits on right-handed, you get that speed, and then it adds on that 3rd hit power plus 60. But it's very, very expensive right now, and even though we do get a lot more skill points, you've probably, if you've done some decent runs now and had some decent pickups of skills, which you can get from all of your races that you're doing, it still can be tough to fit in a 3 hit on just a green, which just is a stat increase. It's not going to make as much of a difference. But it is still a decent gold in that respect. It's just very, very expensive. Has maybe more potential down the line when we have more skill points, but then again, we're going to have also a lot more meta Umas coming out then. And then you also have straightaway adept, deep breaths, and then fall runner. The only one that kind of really mentioned here would be fall runner. So she's more of a late or a long racer, other than having medium straightaways. Everything else is kind of tied. I mean, you could say right-handed isn't as well, but her kit just feels very much for longs. And fall runner, you would think, well, that's good for the Kika show, which is the fall long race. But they have not run that in a champions meeting since we did it. So you're basically not going to be able to take advantage of this on long. So this is specifically going to just be for if you bring her on a medium. And so to me, mediums at this point, like, yes, you have a heal, which will be useful on mediums as well. But right now with making you track, I feel like the stronger builds on, especially the shorter mediums, you want to go without the heal. And so it just, to me, less value on that. So, and then we also have the evolutions for when we eventually get those. And so this one adds a speed to the heal. And then I believe on here, it reduces the amount of the heal basically to a white, makes it a bigger speed increase. So I think the evolutions are just there to say, hey, yeah, maybe you don't need the heal as much, especially for mediums. So it makes it now having like an additional speed increase on top of it. Plus, on the stat one, it just brings it up an additional 20 stats, and then you're getting 80 and 80. And it's going to be less and less relevant as we start stacking our stats up with the when we uncap and all that. And so it's just not as good value on there. So overall, my thoughts are, yeah, she's going to be a pretty decent Uma for longs and even potentially mediums if she's like an Oshi Ryu. But she's definitely not meta. Although I will say potential inherit possibilities there. There are better options, but down the line, if you're one of those people that wants to go crazy and try and get like a really great grandparent, you can have 4 different grandparents with their own alts, and then you have a parent on both sides. So you potentially have 6 inherits, and this could be one that fits in there. But there's so many options, I would not pull specifically for it. And then when you kind of look at what you have coming around, you probably already, if you're really looking at meta Umas and the strong ones, or meta support cards, you might already be struggling because you pulled Refined Motion, you maybe had the Pity, Kitasan. If you didn't follow my advice, or you're, this is a really big one for you, if like you're a whale, you probably pulled heavily here. But then also you have like Seiyun Sky Ballroom coming up for potential for your long inherits. You have Nishino Flower for your pace, and from what I understand, even lates can take advantage of her inherit. And then after that, you got a little bit of saving till Mr. CB. But still, everything that you can save, I would say Satono Diamond is a fairly easy skip unless she is a favorite of yours. But not necessarily terrible. And you will be, I've seen some videos of her in Pisces Cup, and I've seen how her ult works, and she does really pop off when she pops off, but that's late surgers in general. If they pop off really well, they can win, but it's just not suited for your late surgers, and your end closer just are your stronger ones overall. And actually, you could, she is ND, if you wanted to bring him to the current upcoming Pisces Cup, I would actually build her as an end closer, but now you're going to want some end sparks and mile sparks, and you're still trying to get that long S. So it can be a little bit tricky, but it is possible to go that way as well. You're not going to be able to take advantage of the awakening skills, but that's what the sacrifice is when you're Oshi gaming. Sometimes you'll have to really be selective on your support cards to make her strong. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on Satono Diamond and whether or not you want to pull for her. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.